Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and today we're talking about one of the most frustrating properties I've ever purchased, and we're making progress on getting rid of this property. I know I haven't talked about it for a while. This is a turnkey rental I bought in Cleveland, Ohio. I've never been to Cleveland. I've never seen this property, which was a mistake, and it's just been problem after problem after problem, and we're coming to the finish line finally. So you can see this video right here. Possible eviction at my rental property in Cleveland, and this is from 2 years ago. This is when I knew we were having issues and problems over 2 years ago, and we're just now getting into a point where this property may be off my hands. So it's a long story. I'll probably forget a lot of what happened, but I'll try and rehash what was going on and what happened with this property and where we're at right now. So I bought this in 2015 as a turnkey rental. So a turnkey rental is supposed to be a property that's already rented, already repaired, it's good to go. It's got property management in place. All you do is buy it, and then magically all the money comes in without any work, right? Well, obviously there's some issues with that strategy. It can work out okay, but there's some big problems can happen as well. This one had a lot of problems happen with it. So I bought that property actually from someone I knew who I trusted, and it turned out to have a lot of problems from the beginning. I paid $45,000 for it from my IRA, which was very, very cheap. And even after all these problems and it being one of the most frustrating deals I've ever done, I'm still probably going to be okay on it. That's the cool thing about real estate. Although, don't get me wrong, I have lost money on real estate deals before. So the first problem we had with this turnkey rental was it was supposed to be rehabbed and rented. Well, it turns out it was rented, but it was not rehabbed. So I think the company I bought these from had found another person who found a big portfolio of properties for sale. They were all rented, but they weren't rehabbed, and they didn't exactly have the most stellar tenants in them. My tenant I inherited didn't pay rent. We had to evict them. Then after we evicted them, we had to rehab the property. Now, the company I bought it from did help a little bit paying for that rehab because it's supposed to be rehabbed already, but I still had like 7 or 8 months of lost rent. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather still with a cold, but don't worry, I'm okay. Now, with that property, we finally got it rented. It was rented for a couple of years. Everything went somewhat smooth. It rented for less than I thought, but that's okay. But during that process, it also switched property management companies like 3 times. And what happened was it started with one property management company. They decided not to manage properties anymore. Went to another property management company. They decided not to manage properties anymore. Went to another property management company, and so on. So the property management company where I had the most problems was Monument Real Estate. And I have no problem calling them out because it was one of the worst experiences of my life. It kind of accumulated with the owner telling me, liar, liar, pants on fire, when I told him I was a broker from Colorado and knew a little bit about real estate. So that tells you how well that went. But I believe we failed inspections for the Cleveland Housing Authority. They never told me about it. All kinds of things happened. They just didn't tell me what was going on. A very frustrating situation. But the biggest problem, the biggest issue with this property was I couldn't evict the tenants. They hadn't paid rent forever. They got a lot of free money for COVID. And then when the COVID money ran out, possibly because I failed this inspection that nobody told me about, they stopped paying rent. Well, the big issue was I had this purchase from an IRA out of state, and Cleveland has lots of pro-tenant rules and laws for landlords and tenants. They want anybody who files an eviction to be registered in Ohio as an entity if you're out of state. So, and if you're in state too. If it's a corporation, if it's not an individual person who owns this property, they have to be registered in Ohio to do an eviction. I had an IRA. I can't register an IRA as a corporation. That's not a thing. So I talked to Monuments attorneys at the time. I talked to other attorneys at the time. I talked to numerous real estate agents all over trying to figure out how to get this done. They pretty much all told me, you can't. You just got to sell the property with a tenant in there, take a hit, move on, and learn your lesson. Well, I don't give up that easily, and I knew there had to be a way to do this. Just out of spite to Cleveland too. Like, it didn't make sense that I couldn't do an eviction just because I bought it in my IRA and I couldn't register as a corporation. So I posted these YouTube videos. I had different videos. You can see some of the work Monument did. They had done a repair right here, and then later on tried to say that I had to pay for that repair again, even though they'd already charged me for it to fix it like that. But anyway, so someone from my YouTube channel said, hey, I know someone in the area. They can help you out. They've done this before. I'm like, I've heard that so many times. Are you sure? And they said, yes, you can do it. And so I talked to them. It was Homex, Homex Real Estate Solutions, Ariel Cian, and I talked to her, said, yeah, we can probably figure this out. She worked with me. I think she talked to some of her attorneys, and we figured out, hey, let's just try and force this through the Secretary of State. We can get it done. We can get you registered. And so she helped me talk to the Secretary of State, who's actually super nice. That's, separate from Cleveland. It's Ohio Secretary of State. And I tried to register as an entity for my IRA. And I just went ahead and did it and tried to see what would happen. They emailed me and said, what are you doing? You're not a corporation. You can't do this. And I told them my situation. I told them what was going on. And they're like, okay, what if you just register as an entity, not as a corporation? I'm like, you can do that? Like, yeah. So we went through paperwork. I registered as an entity. I submitted it. It got kicked back and said, you can't do this. I told them my situation again, what was going on, what was happening. And they're like, okay, let's think about this again. They brainstormed. We changed a few things. We just kept working with it. And after a couple of months, they accepted me registering my IRA as an entity. I don't remember what kind. I have paperwork somewhere. I wonder if I still have it. I don't feel like looking for it. And I registered with the state of Ohio in some form or fashion with my IRA. And by doing that, the attorneys, the courts were okay with me doing an eviction. That was like this massive roadblock. So thank you, Ariel, for helping me get that done. Highly recommended. And once we did that, we started the eviction. They hadn't paid forever. And before this, we had tried to do cash for keys too. Monument and Homex had both tried to send letters, knock on the door, try to do cash for keys, offer them money to move. They would not do it. They would not respond. Well, once we got to court and there was an official court date and we showed up, then the tenant was willing to work with us because they knew, hey, the free ride might be up once we got to court. Once we got to court, we negotiated $2,000 cash for keys. Paid them $2,000. They left. I got possession of the home. Yes, I know in a perfect world, you would never pay a tenant who just didn't pay forever, but perfect worlds don't exist. And my main concern was just getting rid of this property. So after that happened, I did show some of the property, what it looked like. We had some pictures and different stuff. And we did some light rehab. So Ariel set that up. She got that coordinated, did a light rehab on it. And guess what? We got it for sale. It's for sale, and it's been for sale for a little while. I know I should have mentioned this. I should have said there was updates and things happening, but I definitely wanted to use them to sell the property for me. They're my agents for everything they did for me and helped me out. So it's not only for sale, it's under contract. Yes, it's under contract. So you can see the property. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, but they did just a real light rehab, fixed some things, painted, and we got an offer for, I don't want to say it's not sold yet. In the first week and a half or so after it was listing, I think we had one offer really low, very, very low. I countered. They said, nope, no thank you. I'm like, oof, okay. And then we waited another week, got a really good offer, like surprisingly good. I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, oh, should we accept this? And Ariel's like, no, we're getting another offer on it. We got another offer. That one wasn't quite as good. So we accepted the second offer. It's under contract. I don't think they've done their inspection yet or things like that. So definitely some things could happen. It's definitely not sold yet. But I might be getting rid of my Cleveland property soon. So this could be the end of a very long and drawn out and crazy situation where we had I just learned a lot of lessons. So we'll see what happens in the end. Now, advice for people who want to buy out of state. I could have done so much better, right? I made a lot of mistakes. But you can still buy out of state and make money. It's definitely more difficult. Everything else I own is local besides this one. But if you're going to buy out of state, one thing is always get a second opinion that's not related to the person trying to sell you the property, right? Another agent, property management company, something. Get another opinion about the property, its location, how easy it will be to rent, to inspect it, to make sure it's rehabbed, if it's supposed to be rehabbed, etc. Always get that second opinion or third party, whatever you want to call it, to double check things for you. If I would have done that, I probably never would have bought this property. They would have said, hey, it's not really rehabbed. And they would have told me it might not be in the best location that you want to rent in either. Because after learning about this and talking to different people, I figured out it could be a little better. It was the location of the, oh gosh. I finally found the video I was looking forever. Here's a hint to people who are trying to make it on social media, YouTube. If you have a video about something, put it in the subject line so you can find it easily or other people can search for it. I didn't even mention the shootout in my title at all. Not very smart. So anyway, this property is part of the Glenville shootout. There it is. In the 60s, and multiple buildings were burned down. A lot of people were killed, and my property was right where like the main guy was, who ended up being shot and killed too. So that's why all the properties are new there. Thank you to the commenter who told me where that was. This is all the people who were injured and shot, and had some really cool, interesting buildings there before they all burned down. But it's a very interesting area. Let's put it that way. So we're going to change the name of that video. It will have something to do with Glenville shootout from now on. So anyway, good news. Property's under contract. Like I said, it's not sold yet. Still have to get through their inspection. Some other items too. Hopefully it sells. Then I'll have a bunch of money in my IRA that I need to figure out what to do with. Do I buy another turnkey property in Cleveland? Probably not. But I might do something real estate related. We'll see. All right. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. We'll be back soon.